Face reality, people. Movies are dead. Games are dead. Narrative? Dead.
Media is nothing but neural trigger response and viral conditioning.
Wait, what are you two talking about?
Okay, we just watched Network. Again for me. Again for others. Brand new for Jesse. Any comments? Go ahead. Anyone?
I'll let Jesse speak first on this one.
If he's here, are you here, Jesse? Want to say anything? Thoughts, ideas? Nothing. All right.
You might have tapped out.
Yeah. Interesting fucking movie. A little throwback.
It's exactly how the world works. And you're right. Like, I don't know why they let this movie be made.
I could see it in the 70s. I couldn't today. It'd be an absolutely different version than what we just watched, if I had to guess.
I wonder if this was like, it was done on the DL. They didn't tell them what they made.
I don't know.
Like, how did this movie get made? Like, were those people assassinated who made it?
No.
I mean, Robert Duvall wasn't, but the writers, the director.
I don't think so. Well, it wasn't. It wasn't that. It wasn't that like exposing.
Yeah,
it
is. Yeah, it is.
Not really. It's more of a commentary on
the money changers, dude. The money changers.
It's more of I promise you, it's more of a commentary on the audience than it is even the big execs in the movies. They're kind of like dummies.
No, I'm not talking about the news. What he said at the end is true. Jensen? What Jensen said?
What?
There are no nations. There is only money. And who makes money? And like, as in central banks and big corporations. There's no nations.
After rewatching this, I think the movie would be a success. I think it would work very well, actually. And I think it would get through studios. Because, look, in this movie, right, where he's like getting the audience, or Howard Beale's getting the audience into it, he's like, I'm mad as hell, I won't take it anymore. That shit. Also, like, just the crowd inside the studio during the recordings and shit like that. As he's doing, like, he's like screaming at the top of his lungs, yelling all this shit. He passes out, right? And they're still just like kind of droning away, clapping for it. Like, it is a sideshow. And it's like, to me, stuff like that, the actual audience of people watching it won't realize they're talking about them. I really don't think so. Like, that was an insult that was an insult to every like person who watches like cinema and TV and all that shit, who are just like, baby seals clapping away. Yeah, whatever the fuck is on TV. It's like, yeah.
It was an insult to the people of the time, and the people of today know and still don't do shit about it.
Well,
the fact that Saudi Arabia at the time giving $2 billion to the country was 16% of the GDP. Whether that's accurate or not, nobody's even looking at that. Nobody's looking at how much foreign influence is in this country. And why does it not exactly matter that it's Saudi Arabia? Why does it not exactly matter that we made the Soviet Union or we made the Nazis, as in funding them? It's like, do you realize like what's actually going on in the world? and they're straight up saying on this, you have no fucking clue. Yeah, that's an insult to you for not being aware that that's what's happening. But today, we're to a point where I'd say significantly more people understand we're being fucked like that, but more and more people are getting in bed with that. Like, yeah, I know it's bad, but fuck it, I gotta make money. It's like, you know you're doing evil, but you're just gonna keep on marching forward.
Well, okay, I get your point. I get your point there, and that makes sense. I do think they, in the movie, I think they leaned into the Arab aspect of it. Like, that was just weird. It seemed kind of weird.
It was just a selection. They could have said China because we gave Mao Zedong a $1 billion loan in the, what was it, 57 or something.
Okay.
But we gave Trotsky money with Lenin while the stock exchange gave them money to go make the Soviet Union. And then we gave the money to not directly Hitler, but to the Nazi party. And Prescott Bush was part of making it.
Okay, but like I was saying, like there's like a little idea of like for us with like from being in 2024 watching this from 1976, or it's like, oh, like old like new. Us with this
right.
with this hindsight, it's like, well, considering all the historical events in the 70s or any era, to pick the Arabs out is kind of weird for me personally. I thought that was weird, but other than that, they definitely have some, in my opinion, on point social commentary that that would pierce anyone, I would think.
Right.
Like, I think it's beyond whatever group or whatever the fuck they're talking. Like the communist groups, where these guys are like, they're sitting, that one scene in the room where they're negotiating their like, if we get syndicated, like what percentage am I taking? Like, how much money do I make off of this? Like the leaders of this quote unquote communist revolution guerrilla group, right? It's like,
you ain't taking my overhead.
It's like, well, guess what we see? We're talking about Jackson Hinkle yesterday, right? It's like, well,
right.
What if that guy's some leader of some communist group? Like, what do you think's gonna happen? It's gonna look like that shit, man. Where he's with lawyers. The man that they're fighting is also one of their lawyers, and
you know that fucking idiot already has a lawyer. He's dealing with Jimmy Dore. He's got lawyers in those conversations.
Actually, Jimmy Dore is actually a good name to bring up because of the Howard Beale character and why he's appealing, which is what I think is Jimmy Dore's like. People watching this in the movie world may have no idea who Jimmy Dore is, but like characters that are like very sensational. Not saying I'm not calling anyone a liar or full of shit or anything like that. I'm just saying like someone who's very emotional when they talk, and they, even if it's like something as simple as like news stories, and they're passionate about it. I think people hit a vibe with that, and thus can make them popular, like a Jimmy Dore,
right?
Like a Howard Beale.
And all you got to do, Jimmy Dore is Tim Pool. They both do the same fucking thing. It's just they have a different, like, except for Tim Pool's not like trying to be funny at all.
Yeah, he is, but
no, I mean he's not trying. He's just like they're just reading what's in the news, and then they're like, well, I have this idea of what's the world should look like, and I'm gonna point out how it's wrong on this topic, according to my idea. That's all they do, is do a couple hours a day show doing that.
Well, I think
and they have actually no clue, and they both have no fucking clue.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah, neither one of them know what the fuck. But I think Tim's more of like making a killing off of it. Well, Jimmy, I think, is just making a living off of it. I think there's a difference. Like Jimmy would be more of a guy that I'd be like, all right, we can have like a beer together and talk shit a little bit more. I'd scorch him to the earth. But I'm saying like, just like as a person, he's more of like he reads more as authentic than a Tim Pool, which is why people attract to Jimmy the way people attract to Jimmy. It's about his at least on-screen passion, or the way, or simulated passion or whatever. It's like that's the appeal of Howard Beale, where it's like, holy, like, whoa, this guy, like, he's fed up, and he's honestly fed up. He's honestly saying he's fed up. He's letting everyone know about all this shit. That's the appeal. Like, oh fuck, that's kind of somewhere in the back of my mind. I realize that that's worth watching. Thus, quote unquote, entertaining. But are we actually investing in the way that, right? Howard Beale was thinking he was hearing voices about, in like a prophetic way, hearing voices to, like I have to tell the truth according to what I feel or whatever, and thus, like
no. He's full of like experience type knowledge of being in the news world, and he considers himself like he's well informed, but then he got this voice that said you need to tell them the truth. What he say, not like the absolute truth, but like,
and it's like a visceral truth, like something you can't. That's just I don't know, something that's just like understood.
But the second, like, and he was going along the path like as honest as he could on that, and he got to the point where he blew up his own company, the CCA that hired him, and he's like, this is the end of the country. Like, this is for this example, he said the Arabs are looting America. He didn't even say the Saudis, which they later said was specifically the Saudis.
Yeah.
But he was like, this is it. This is dire important. And then he had the conversation with Jensen, and he's like, whoa, there's no such thing as America. And you need to go back on TV and tell them they're all automatons, and I'm in charge because this is my fucking country, as in the corporation are the countries. The channel is UBS under CCA. This is my fucking country, and Jensen wants his automatons to keep supplying him. And that's when he started losing his ratings, because the people like naturally felt like, well, this is nothing new. This is what we've been hearing.
Yeah.
Forever anyway. So this is boring. It's not enlightening anymore. This is programming. Get back in line. He's fake now.
He needed them like, I need you, Howard, to preach the truth. He's like, why me? Because you're on TV, dummy. Like, he said the exact same words as the voice.
Well, he said it on TV, and he heard him, so he just he knew Howard Beale was just like, was it like absorbing everything.
Yeah. He said it from the fucking shadows and shit. The little like
the devil kind of aspect.
A little bit. Like the cinematography, where he's like, first he's in front of like the kind of lit, right? You can see his face and you can see him animated, and he starts walking towards Howard, and he starts entering the darker, like he's in the shadows, like telling him things from there. And Howard's like this like shocked face, like looking up at him, like, I think you referenced it. What'd you say? I think you said something like Clockwork Orange. No, maybe it was Jesse.
That was Jesse.
Okay, yeah, who mentioned Clockwork Orange, where he's like, where the dude, fuck, what's his name again?
Jensen?
The big dick, right?
Jensen, yeah. Jensen.
Walks up to Howard Beale, and he's like a shadowy figure, like telling him shit. It's like it's beautiful cinematography to do that, to play with lighting like that. And then Howard, Jesse, you said Howard looked like he was like Clockwork Orange almost, whereas like his eyes are like bugged open and shit. He's like, oh fuck, like
Yeah.
that was a cool scene. Jesse, do you have thoughts about it? This is your first time seeing this. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah,
or
it's my
ideas?
first time. Just the main thing it kept coming to me was that it just felt so familiar. Like it's an old film, but it like the type of problems that they weren't the main theme of it, but like all of the background things felt identical, and I was kind of surprised, like because there's so many things that we think about now that are they seem to be current or fresh or urgent, but it's the same stuff. And like, well, you see, like, just to give some examples, like that there's like the terrorism things, the communist discussion, the talks about capitalism in certain ways to describe it, and or here it's the corporation, it's the same thing. And I don't know, it just made an impression on me. It's like, wow, it's like, if it's that same, like what is really urgent? What's so like what's it just doesn't change. Like,
All right. Like,
seemingly.
how about this to like go in description of that? Did you like see how media all focuses on is sensationalization?
yeah, well, media that too. It's like that's another one of the themes. It's like some of the media things, I don't know, maybe I forgot, or like they seem newer, like problems, somewhat. But yeah, I mean, this like 50-year-old film is still same thing, right?
Oh yeah.
We gotta show murder on TV so that people will tune in. Bank robberies. We need to get in bank robbery on TV so people will tune in.
The sensationalism, but the sensationalism turns to, well,
it
it's
splits
because
off.
People have to tune in, so then it's just it becomes like manipulating people too, right? Like that's
the news will fund communists to get five series. That's how deep this shit is.
I would love to see a remake of this movie, and like a modern version of it from a real creator, not some guy that they stick up there to, make CNN look good or some shit like that. I mean, an actual remake of this movie. That'd be one of the movies where I would support a remake of. We've seen enough Jurassic Parks. Let's see one of these movies, just once, just one of them.
No, they would water it down. They would water that shit
down. That'd be the thing I'd be worried about, of course.
I mean, I think this film is here. Who's
watching it though, Jesse? Who's watching it though? Who's watching this movie?
Okay, yeah, that's
not that we need to fucking socially manipulate people. Like, oh please, we need to remake this so that people can catch on to what's happening in with news and media and all that shit. It's more of
they get that.
Come on, like creatively, this is like a obvious. It's a layup. It's an obvious remake. That's what I'm saying. It's an obvious remake. It's like that should be remade. Like it's obvious, with some touches here and there and some upgrades. And I don't know, the Arab shit was weird to me, so I'd probably cut that and do something else. But,
well, I mean, it's part of history. Maybe they just use Saudi Arabia.
Sure, but it's I don't know, something about it was weird to me. That's all I'm saying. But good.
Well, I'm trying to think what was going on 75 in the Middle East. I mean, the West made all of the countries we call the Middle East.
Think of all the think of everything. In
1920, England, France, and America, and with a little bit of Russian, all made each country we call the Middle East today. So, yeah, our money goes there. They return it. That's how the flow kind of works.
Okay, well, I think me personally, just based on all right, 76, right?
We had an oil crisis, like just
2 years. No, 71. Yeah. 71.
Yeah, they were just coming out of the oil crisis right there. Like, and the prices were like people didn't have enough gasoline.
They said in the movie, Watergate just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're talking about like Saudi Arabia and
all right, I vote for me to make the new network. There you go. I'll be relentless because guess what? We've expanded from major networks. We expanded to things like Google and YouTube and all that shit. To where there's fuck faces, there's funny motherfuckers running around all over the place. I'm just saying. I think this is worthy. All right, let me ask this: is that worthy of a remake? I think that's worthy, in my opinion.
Well, not by today's people.
No, the problem is like an upgrade, like an upgraded version of this for where we're at now.
What I'm saying is we don't got a director alive that can do this good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you're directing it, Dubster. Do you think that?
I'm not I couldn't do it. This is awesome.
Forget about professionalism. Just you, could you take modern ideas of society and politics and all that shit and make it a quote unquote updated version of this? Of course you could.
Oh, make it current?
Yes, add the current atmosphere and that's in my mind
right.
That's kind of worthy of a remake. You know what?
I
think
in that sense, yes. The current way of doing this.
Yeah, I'm saying no weird creepy business. I'm saying imagine if you're the director and you can add in you're the director and writer and you can add in the ideas you've seen today into a movie that's network. You could 100%. It actually fits damn near. It fits perfectly down there.
But here's the thing: whose bias do you want to see in this movie? I don't know.
That would be a problem.
The guys, I don't know the guy's bias in this. The director, or the writers back then, what they think was worthy and what they think wasn't worthy.
True, but I think there's plenty of room for a spectrum of people to make a remake of this. I think it's actually fitting, kinda. I would think it would be fitting, but that's just my opinion on it. With a good director, no bullshit, no produced by the Obamas or produced by
Ben Shapiro. I don't want Ben Shapiro touching this.
Produced by Ben Shapiro or the Trump family or whatever bullshit. Minus that shit, I think someone could do a good job with this idea and concept. Let's go to this. Do you guys want to do grades or you want to do recommendations or anything like that?
Oh, I give this movie a 9.
A 9 out of 10. That's very strong.
Yeah.
I don't trust your grading system, but it's a strong. I do agree it's a strong movie. So
yeah. And this is my area of focus, how fucking corrupt shit is.
Fair enough. So that's obviously a recommendation as well. Jesse, and usually don't do grades. Do you recommend?
Yeah. I'd say I'd strongly recommend it. It's yeah, remake it, I guess. But I wouldn't. I just wouldn't even touch too much. It's like I think it's good as it is.
If it was done justice, I think it would be one of the best
Right.
remakes ever. If it was done justice, but I can't, obviously, based on studios and who they pick for directors and like, if that was actually a real thing, like obviously none of us are gonna write it or direct it, but if it actually happened, it'd have to be someone who can give it justice. And it's like,
which is a little bit. It's tough to get this topic without someone motivated to make the film without having such enormous bias into which is like common now because it's a way, which is part of the film itself. It talks about like, hey, when you exploit things, right?
Yeah.
And
I guarantee you
there's definitely
bias. There's bias in that that you and I don't even notice.
But there's, I mean, yeah, it could be updated current day bias, but that it's somewhat deafening sometimes. Like when you get it now, because it's made to, like, because it gets more attention. It's made to just be much more conflictive, like, which
Okay.
I think is what the movie itself is telling you about sensationalism.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like, I'm looking at something as simple as, like, look at the way people reacted to Get Out, which was, let's be honest. I'm sorry for people who thought that was like a deep movie. It's like, it's not that deep. It's not the deepest movie. Like, I'm sorry, it's not. But people went apeshit for it, right? Did people not go apeshit? They went apeshit for that fucking movie.
Both ways, though, and that's what they wanted.
For people against it or for it, yes, it cut both ways. Let's put it that way.
Here's how that worked. The Republicans refused to see it, but they promoted it to all the lefties.
Sounds like Barbie.
Kind of like Barbie.
Yeah, the way it split people. Yeah.
It's
like there's those who watched it and those who just hated what they were.
All right.
I'm
I'm not even gonna see it. I'm just gonna talk about the clips that I know of.
Well, it's like,
Oh yeah, and then the Democrats like, oh, there's no movie. I'll see it on Friday. Cool.
yeah. I mean, well, I think it was absurdly overrated, and from the dipshits, absurdly underrated. Like that's what it was. Like dipshits tossing food at each other instead of like watching the movie itself. But it's all right. I get the commentary here, and you move on. That's it. It's not the most like, oh my god, this movie is so something else. No, it's not. It's not that great. Sorry, guys. Get Out is not that great of a movie. It's okay. It's all right. And it's an attempt at something. I'll give them credit for that. But it's not the fucking magnum opus of fucking film. Sorry, it's not. Which would make me think about something like this movie. Like Network. Like, what would happen? Right. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what would happen. But
even though I don't see the bias of the 70s in this, and I guarantee you there's bias.
Oh, for sure.
I just don't see, because we weren't alive to see the day-to-day shit that was not on the news, what was on the news.
For sure. Yep.
And so, but like, it was still an eye-opener for generations. Well, I mean, if you think about this goes all the way back through time too. These are the scholars saying, here's what you're allowed to read, here's what you're not allowed to read, and we need to make money, so we're going to promote things on it, and we're going to demote things on it. We're going to say, go buy this product because it's a staple. Why are if you think about each country, they have a staple food. Why are they a staple food? Because someone at the tippy top said we should focus on growing this food.
Yeah. We can get
So,
grain,
like-
or we can get this, or we can get that. Thus,
Right.
this is our thing. Yeah, good.
So it's like this reaches beyond its current location in history to an ever stretching, like opening your eyes to how things are controlled.
Yeah.
I'd partially say it. Good.
I like that topic that you just said about, it's like, so about the control. Contrasting how we think about bias. I mean, I definitely see a lot of biases in it, but I think it's a different kind of bias. So currently, we observe a lot of bias that's very divisive from one to another amongst Americans, right? But one of the things that I thought about when I was watching this is like there's very few channels at that time, and so
like
anybody who's on television is one of the voices, like massive voices. And then you see, like how you mentioned, control. What this guy was like, that shadowy moment. He was telling him what to preach, basically, which he was preaching. And when he does that, they're telling people what to think, and so some of the things that were biased, that were coming out of this, it's not as obvious because it's not a divisive bias, but it's a bias like against things. Like so when they talk about Arabs or those things, like if everybody's hurting from like oil, then we can unanimously hate that stuff. Like that, the problem, at least, the economic problem. We can, if there's, communists, like they brought up the communism, but, like they picked that. I mean, they could have just said it because it's a current event, maybe at that time, or they might have picked it and portrayed it in a way.
They made him seem irrelevant. Like, you guys are easily manipulated too, like based on like. Because they were offered TV shows and shit like that. So they're like, okay, we can easily deal with you guys. The quote-unquote communist revolution. Like, yeah, we could just give you a TV contract or something like that. And then that's when they started showing up with lawyers and all that shit and the fucking thing. Sorry to cut you off. I'm just saying, like, that's what they were doing in the movie.
And to show you that communists are money men too.
Well, they were following the quote-unquote tenets of capitalism. But they were claiming to be communists.
Well, yeah.
True.
That's what it looked like.
Go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, basically it was just that, like, I think there's biases there. I guess I was just thinking how we're just more divisive in the way, like, the control is now dividing people as a way to control, whereas I kind of get the impression that previously it was more easier to control by just having a unified voice of this is the way you do things.
Oh, you're right. That tactic has switched. It used to be a united fist of power, and now it's a divided fist. Two different fists to still get power.
Yeah, because before it was controlled enough where you can unify a message, but now, like, that people have, internet and blogging and YouTubing and all these things where it's such a distributed message, then it just, now the way to control it is to make everything sound like noise and just kind of drown things out, and then just have people against each other. But I mean, it's the same ends, but it's just a different way to do it.
Right. So like when
Okay.
Howard went on TV and the opening part where Howard first went on TV and said, "I'm gonna kill myself next week on Tuesday at 7 on this show." The other stations, there's only 2 or 3 other stations at the time: ABC, CBS, and NBC.
NBC.
I think.
NBC, I think.
That were news stations, and technically those were the only 3 stations really.
Of that level, yeah.
But they all their people, all they reported on was, "Did you hear what Howard said on TV the other day?" So it was a unified message. It circled around what Howard did.
Well,
that was the news. That was the news for the other 3 stations.
that was competition though. They were like, okay, you're our competition, so we're gonna expose that. We're gonna like lean on that you had some guy go through a fucking crisis on camera, and now we're gonna make you look bad for it.
But it was unified.
It worked the other way around. Yeah.
It became unified, and it actually made him the spearhead of the 3 other stations.
To where they end up covering
for that hour.
For that. Because you're on TV, dummy. Like, yeah.
Right. So, and another thing you said, Jesse, made me think. Back then, especially in the 70s, and if you were on TV, the American public, at least, looked at you like you were a god. And God's talking to me. Even if it's a joke, or if it's serious, or if it's the news, or if it was, just a TV show, sitcom, Archie Bunker. You were a god to the people.
That's us now. Like, seemingly.
No, there's
society now.
There's so many. No. With the way YouTube has come along and Rumble has come along, you got millions of voices out there. No one's got God status anymore.
Yeah. Well, there's just more gods. That's what it,
right.
Like that's what it would look like. I think.
No. What I'm saying, here's an example. Somebody on TV says sky is blue. Another guy can go on his little YouTube channel and say, it's gray. And they could just argue what he said. So it's opened up to the point where it's just anybody can just have the argument. If you want to watch it, you can. You don't have to. You don't feel locked into it.
Yeah, but that's the same sensation that happens, right? To where
there's the sensation.
People get locked into it. God.
Yeah, there is the same effect, but I guess from a supply and demand kind of perspective.
Maybe personally, I think I've lost that these people are gods over me feeling.
So you might have that effect
compared to before
your God
YouTube. No,
right?
No. I mean, I've lost that effect. I think since
yeah.
YouTube.
Well, what I'm saying there's kind of a little bit of both there, right? So you individual people you see get affected by their main celebrity, but there's not one person that's a celebrity for everybody, or there's very few like that because there's so many. I don't know, probably more than half of the celebrities. I have no idea who they are. Right? They don't have that same status that it used to be.
True, but the phenomenon happens that same phenomenon is still happening though. I think, in my opinion. And that I tailored that towards when I was on YouTube doing political shit. I talk about the mommy and daddy fucking the sensations you get from politicians. You have a mommy figure or a daddy figure. When I talk about Trump or Clinton or one of these Fox men, that same thing still happens. I was yo, this shit happens on YouTube. Like straight up, like
Mhm.
like Jimmy Dore is like a daddy figure to people, not in the sense of they're your father, but in this like in the sense of like this is a voice that I have respect for. That's kind of an authority on something. Like they have that same sensation with people on YouTube as well. Now maybe it's spread out to where it's like, 10 million different people have 10 million different fucking gurus on on YouTube or on the internet or whatever the fuck. But it's still the same fucking thing though. At the core of it, it's still the same thing. And that's just the way I look at it personally.
Well,
It's the same thing.
I'm saying personally, I think that broke for a lot of people.
I hope so, but I don't think so. Good. Sorry.
When YouTube came around, that centralized power aspect of that God feeling from TV.
I think it just happened. Like it went from like right the president. Like if the president is like the daddy of the nation type of thing from whatever years, right back in the day, to where it's like, okay, here's someone who's kind of questioning him, and he's making points, and whatever reasons, yada yada yada, that you're into it. Like, okay, all of a sudden this person becomes like the new figurehead to listen to. Then it gets split up even more when you hear more voices that are even critiquing the guy that you were following secondarily, right? Like the president to the secondary guy to whatever guys are questioning that guy, secondary guy. Like, okay, maybe he has the answer. It becomes like just trading off of daddy figures or voices that are more credible to you versus someone else, and end up locked into like this little game type thing, like a game
Called
scenario.
it trickle down.
In a way,
something you called it that, right?
Well, that was different. That was more about content creators themselves.
Okay.
Trickle down content. That was just about like content creators themselves, where it's like, oh, Jimmy Dore got in a beef with this guy, and then Bonnie's talking about it, and now I'm talking about Bonnie. Like, okay, it trickled down all the way to me, to where now I'm making videos about it, like that type of thing. But I'm saying something like as far as like thought leaders type of thing, to where like the quote unquote bigger thought leaders have broken down to different levels, and then those guys have broken down to another level, and now we're all still not all of us, but I'm just saying like quote unquote us are talking about these guys now, or thinking through them and their content, and it's just like,
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's the same phenomenon, just maybe spread out more. That's my opinion on it.
I think it's spread out to where it's lost the power.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, right now,
has Trump lost any power over you?
Well, let's
just an example. I'm giving a specific example because
listening to what Jordan was just recently talking about, that like most people in America never saw Abraham Lincoln.
In that time period, you're saying? Yeah.
If anything, they might read something in the newspaper.
True.
Then it was like JFK time. He was on TV the most for like
first. He was the first, yeah.
For a significant thing. That Donald Trump was on TV almost every day for most of his presidency.
And before
besides
that.
besides his vacations and flying and all that shit.
Yeah.
There's no president that's been on TV as much as Donald Trump.
Makes sense.
And now we got Biden, and he can't keep up with the TV appearances like Trump was doing. But that whole aspect of the more he's on TV and the less TV mattered, like the desolation of it has became something.
Fuck, I wish that was the case. I wish that was the case, what you're saying, Dubster. I get what you're saying. I wish that was the case. I think it's like, real quick. I think it's more of like people who are watching, like, right? The dissolution of mainstream media coverage of Donald Trump, right? But then there's like 40 million YouTube channels based on Donald Trump that are doing things. And guess what? They're maintaining audiences, it seems like. Mm-hmm. So that's... Is that making sense, Dubster? I think that's like a different thing.
Well...
Good.
I don't. I think the fact that he's oversaturated to the point that he's not a god anymore. Right? He's gotten rid of that aspect of it.
Unless you click on the right YouTube channel, then maybe he is a god.
No, then you have to
be honest.
No. When God's talking to you, God is talking to you. But if you have to go to somewhere else to listen to another God to talk about what God just talked about, he's lost the power of being God. I mean, like, I just witnessed him. Why do I need to hear your opinion about it?
Because you want to double down on what you just saw. It's fucking, it's me watching Game of Thrones Season 8, right? And then I watch Jody's Corner following it just to see, like, hey, what did you guys think about what you just saw?
No. What I'm saying is, for me, I can't speak for everyone. It did it for me. It desolated it because I listened to people that agreed and disagreed with him on the same thing I watched on my own of him. So therefore, the power is actually in me at this point, because I've looked at 30 different people about the same damn thing going 30 different directions.
Oh, come on, Dubster.
Now I can actually see the individuals that are talking themselves.
Come on, Dubster. That's respectable. But how many people do you think are doing that? No, stop. No, listen. How many people do you think... That's the dissolution
of the God aspect.
But how many people do you think are doing that? Honestly. How many people do you think are watching references to what you just watched, what you just watched, and watching counter arguments to it, and on and so forth? How many people do you think are actually doing that?
No,
that's commendable for you, but who the fuck else is doing that? Honestly.
No.
Look at that.
You're missing. What's the power in God? He only talked to Moses and Jesus. That's how.
Good.
So the power was centralized into, they were divinely connected to God. So therefore, their legend is the power. Versus everyone's talking about what Donald Trump did. So therefore, it's a realization this is not a God. Versus when it was JFK, he was still a God. When it was Abraham Lincoln, you didn't even have to see him. You just had to read about him. And his decree was his decree. Et cetera, through history.
I get that, but I think the same results end up happening of what you're saying there about Lincoln not getting, obviously, right, you don't get enough coverage because there's not enough means for the coverage of it. But today, you could point out someone like Donald Trump where there's so much coverage to where it could actually lean out towards something like Lincoln looking, based on, the little metaphor we're going on.
I could see that aspect. But for me, it did the opposite.
Well, that's
so a lot of like especially the larger social media people, one of the things that I hear repeatedly is how partially their goal is to capture attention, which is basically similar to what the movie's saying, but the attention itself, like, ends up being the power, and like the more obvious way is even if a lot of the monetization now is through ads. So if somebody gets, or marketing, if somebody has a lot of popularity, they can get that marketing money, and it's just purely because people will turn to hear what that person is saying, or they'll recognize their name.
Yeah.
So it's somewhat similar to what you're saying, but it's different. It's a different conclusion because I'm not framing in terms of God, but it's very paralleled in that, you know, like if a lot of people are listening, there does end up being a type of power, whether it's not, maybe it's not reverence the way you're describing it, but there's definitely power and control that come with the ability to get eyeballs and attention.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree, but I don't think those are I think that's individual power coming from that versus like a dogmatic power.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hold on. What do you mean by that? Because, well, do you mean like, do you mean getting people to buy into you dogmatically in a way?
No, not buying into. What I mean is like, you look like at the lower levels of it, like the people that make their own YouTube videos and they put their own commercial on it.
Okay.
For me, it looks more like, I don't know. The power looks weaker. So to me, it seems more.
So you might have power.
Do not say realistic.
You don't trust it, maybe?
No, no. It just seems more natural. In the idea of like just an equal human is just trying to get 50 cents from me versus someone who's trying to get me to go to war.
I understand that, but they might have the same fervor
for
one or the other, right?
I get it, but one seems so much weaker, and they.
This is nothing about manipulation, though, Dubster. Right? Because someone can manipulate you because they need that 50 fucking cents versus someone else who needs you to go to fucking war in some country. Right? If I'm getting your fucking point right, that makes sense though, right?
I don't know. I don't know how to explain this. Because what they actually did by doing that, making their video covering the same thing I already saw Donald Trump already make. I'm not going to war for Donald Trump. I'm not going to give you 50 cents. But it came with the fact that now that I've looked at you and I've looked at someone else's response to it and someone else's response to it and someone else's response to it 30 times, it's gone more to, now I'm just thinking about how this is considered, what you actually said in this speech you gave, as in Donald Trump. You're no longer like this, I'm putting the weight of God on your actions from Donald Trump, because now I've seen how other people consider it versus before YouTube. We couldn't really do that. If Bush came out and said we're going to Bush Sr. said we were going to Iraq war, you know what we did? We went to Iraq war.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
And everybody got on board. Every American was ready to get down for it, and we were good with it.
Well, not every American. And yes, I get, like, in regards to that, what you're saying, yes, they can fucking even stifle voices or people who are like, no, we're not doing that. That's bullshit. And they existed. They did exist in the Desert Storm era, right? They existed. So I get what you're saying in regards to that, but I don't know how to word it. Like, I get what you're saying.
There's things I disagree with Trump on, but
Yeah,
like back in the day when George Bush Sr. put us in a war, most people didn't even know we were having problems with Iraq.
true. But if you end up, all right, let me put it this way: like, forget about being pro or for, George Bush's war, like Desert Storm shit. Okay, George Bush won, right? Forget about that. It's like, what if the people that are talking to you about being for or against it, to where like it becomes its own like guru type thing. Whether you're for or against it, your guru is telling you to be for or against it. Is that not like a thing?
That's why
that's a thing, right?
That's why I'm watching 30 people on it that disagree one way or another.
But the 30 people can break up into more and more of that.
Hold on.
God.
So that they're not my gurus.
But okay, fair enough. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. That's fair. But that's,
I don't want the guru mentality.
That's fair for you, but there's so many other people who do get fucking locked into these things, right?
Yeah, right.
They get pulled into these fucking things, and
right.
I forgot the main point of that, but the main point of why we're talking about that, but I would assume it's about like, does this movie have a place? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Does this movie have a place in regards to talking about that? Yeah, I think it does. Because there are people who get pulled into fucking 20 different groups or ideas and get manipulated from one end to the other, man. From all 20 fucking people they listen to. So it's like,
right. And I still get pulled in certain ways. There's no doubt about that. Who couldn't?
Not with information like this. Like, yeah, you're gonna like, because we're not foreign correspondents with a bunker in the fucking Middle East, like looking at these actions ourselves personally. So like we can't get pulled. 100%. I agree with that. 100%.
Right.
But that's still the same. I guess phenomenon that we saw in the fucking movie, right?
Right. They control what you see. In the movie, they denied the FBI evidence to a crime because they wanted to make it their number one hit.
But I'm saying it could be independent fucking like maverick motherfuckers, man, who are like they're doing that for their own purposes. There could be people who do that for their own reasons, right?
When they assassinated Howard Beale, they were not the boss. They left the boss out because the boss loved Howard Beale.
Kinda, yeah. But
they were like, he's fucking us, so we're gonna have to kill him.
Yeah. And Howard Beale was fucking them. Right?
Right.
Basically, he was fucking them. So, all right.
He was, yeah.
So, question about this guy on the screen. It's like
Howard Beale dead.
I guess he just finished preaching. Could the remake have who was I saying? Glenn Beck.
An assassination.
Glenn Beck would pay him in the remake.
You want him to be Howard Beale equivocal?
I think he'd do it.
If Glenn Beck did this, I would watch it strictly for comedy. That's it. Otherwise, no, thank you.
He reminded me, like, yeah, he didn't have the same personality, but he reminded me of him a few times.
Oh, good God. I know Glenn's on the right. I don't want to see anyone on the left or right in this movie. I want to see, like, neutral fucking motherfuckers, like, making a movie about their social commentary. Otherwise, I'm just going to laugh at you. But yo, this guy did
Right.
this, and that.
Okay.
Like, just what's the point?
That's fair.
Right.
For me personally, but
You
I think it's
want
worth
somebody in
remaking.
this. If you remake it modern times, you want someone that's like, y'all know that it's a
fucking professional.
uniparty. You want somebody who's like, it's a uniparty, dude.
I want a fucking professional who gets the core of the story and then goes with it. That's all. Otherwise, fuck right off. Whoever the fuck. I don't want to hear some dude or some chick or whatever the fuck that are politically affiliated with this person or that person. I don't want to hear that shit, man. Get them out of the way of this movie and make something where it's like just professionals making an observation about the world. That's it. That's all I would ask for. I'll leave it at that. But that's probably too much to ask for, to be honest with you.
And that
probably
would
too
be
much.
awfully hard.
That's probably
Someone
too much to ask for.
just make observations and it not being biased.
Yeah. Exactly. Good luck,
Yeah.
but at the same time, that'd be my requirements, man. I'd have to ask for that.
I mean, that's what he was doing in the show, right? Like it wasn't about any parties. at
Well,
all.
to be fair,
It was.
Was it?
what Dubster said earlier,
Yeah.
where it's like we don't know the guy's political affiliations we don't know the politics of the 70s to where we know
Right.
whether they're
Right.
biased towards one side or another.
Right.
We don't know that. But
Mm.
the way I'm reading it from now, from 2024, watching this, and the time I saw it before, which was like, God, probably over a decade ago, I saw this movie. Like where I didn't have any it just looked like it was questioning things. That's what it looked like.
Well,
And
we
it
do
kinda
know
does-
his politics a little bit. He made the movie we saw yesterday.
Oh yeah, Dog Day Afternoon, especially
Yeah.
especially with police violence. These guys are pretty upset about
And-
that.
And the bad guy's gay.
Fair enough. There you go.
And his antagonist is also his protagonist.
Wait, what?
Could you say that?
Which I'm at.
What is it called when the bad guy's actually the good guy for the story?
Like an anti-villain. I know that from comic book style things. Anti-villain
Anti-hero.
What would you,
or anti-hero. My bad. Anti-hero. You got it right there.
okay. Yeah, Al Pacino kind of fit that in that movie.
There's definitely social commentary there.
Well, he was the hero / villain.
I don't think he was a villain.
Attica.
I think he was the guy we're supposed to be like looking through his eyes type of thing. I think.
Because Sal was the hero, and I want y'all to understand that.
Sal was not the hero. But all right, let's wrap this up.
He pulled a gun on all those people to tell that one woman, "Don't smoke."
I want to say this. I'm going to upload this to YouTube. We don't talk about modern movies like we've been talking about this movie for about an hour
No.
now. My recording is 1 hour and 3 minutes and 30 seconds, man. We don't talk about modern movies like this, which is sad. It's
A
fucking
few,
sad.
but- A few, but not really.
Yeah, not. It's not. I don't know.
The last one we did was The Whale. This was more. This one was more.
Yeah, and The Whale's a great movie. This is a great movie. Like I think they belong in the same class together. But modern movies, typically, I'm sorry, you don't get discussions like this at all.
No, there's nothing to discuss.
True.
Yeah, that's what they did. Have a good night.
And then Jason Statham did a drop leg kick and cracked his
Oh,
neck
dude.
and broke him in half. You know what I'm saying?
It exploded.
He exploded.
Yeah. Speaking of, Jason Statham's got a new movie coming out called Beekeeper.
Oh my god.
Has nothing to do with beekeeping, folks.
I believe you trolled my YouTube algorithm to where I get trailers for this fucking thing now. And I'm just Oh my god, this is the fucking movie he's talking about, isn't it?
Have you watched it?
No, it's I keep getting trailers for it. I think it's new,
No,
right?
the trailer. Have you watched it? It isn't even out yet.
I think I had like they gave me like a decent amount before I can skip the trailer thing.
Once
they give me enough of it. You know what I'm saying?
You can watch the trailer and know it has nothing to do with beekeeping.
I'm sure. Yeah, I keep getting fucking videos with that. Not videos, but like trailer and commercial things on YouTube from that. And I'll watch it. Why not? Why the fuck not? Well,
it's
like it?
gonna be like,
I can't say that.
oh no, we watch it because it's bad.
Exactly. All right, for me, 7, 9, 8.
What?
7, 9, 8 for Network. I love Network.
Whoa.
Network is
And you put Matrix at what?
The Matrix.
Yeah.
The Matrix is like a 9-1, bro. They're
Okay.
super duper legit. This 8, 7, 9, 8. Very good movie. I think there's better, but it's still up there, 100%. And one of the daddies of my favorite movies of all time is one of the daddies of my favorite movies. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So very good, legit. All right, there's our kind of review.